Hello, Howlers! This week on Fate to Obsidian, we will be discussing Dark Age chapters 45 to 58. We recommend that you have also read to this point in the book to avoid spoilers. Please be aware that this episode contains discussions about violence and death, as well as strong language. Listener discretion is advised. See you soon!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Fade to Obsidian, your podcast about relationships and spaceships.
Hello, everybody.
I, as always, am Crescent, joined, as always, by Skipper.
Hello.
And today we've got Merlot again.
Yeah, welcome
Hello,
back,
Merlot.
Merlot. Welcome
Glad to be
back. First time for the second saga or whatever. No, one saga, a second trilogy, quadrilogy, tetralogy. There's a lot of different names for the part two. But welcome back.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
What are you drinking tonight?
So, I almost just pulled out the Bovini and said, screw this, we're having scotch again. And then I looked in my fridge and I saw I had these for the 4th tomorrow. So, in honor of spoiling a little bit, a certain someone mentioned in these chapters, I did a lion-themed beer of Mac and Jack's African Amber.
Nice.
Nice.
I have wine because you are joining us. Merlot is the first reason, but it's a white wine though, so I feel Merlot is normally my favorite, but it's fine. But it is called Twisted because everything gets a little weird and twisted in these episodes or this chapters. We're into some interesting territory in these ones, so Twisted.
And I've got a local mango passion fruit sour, because I'm a little bit sour that Adrius kills all those howlers.
Oh, yep. It's sad.
Jumping right into it.
I know, I don't even know how to recover from that one.
Well, let's wind it back a little bit.
Yes.
I'll go with Ephraim first.
Yeah, we're going to go through this as we have been point of view by point of view, starting with Ephraim, which is, I think we kind of get thrown right into his sequence. Like, it's still action-packed from the chunk before, right?
Yeah, it dials back a little bit because they have like the kind of quiet moment where they're looking for the night gaze, and
Yeah. Oh
he
yeah,
kind of has this conversation with Osgard
around the campfire. Yeah. Yeah.
And then this is also where Ephraim, confronts. He's already confronted Freehold, right? And now he hits the other side with Valdir right out the gate.
Yeah.
Sorry, right after this. They're nicely sitting around with Freehold and Osgard. He disappears for a little too long.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
I did enjoy... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
I was just going to say, I really enjoyed the... because I didn't even catch it in the first couple times I read this, was Osgard's backstory. Now he lays out this whole sequence of events where he's basically just filling lies and deceit in his own, right, origin story. He gets at shaman killed, right? He had snakes. And then he takes his shaman role. So you kind of are starting to see these own things perhaps happening, but it's interesting as we go through this section, backstory, and all kind of the parallels to his own story current time.
Yeah. Yeah, I really loved hearing his backstory and how he's gotten to where he is. If he's still somewhat the outsider, it has been his whole life, but like how he's kind of made that work. Yeah, it was really fascinating to hear that portion.
Mm-hmm. And we get the prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
which I had completely forgotten about. And then people in the den were like trying to talk through whether or not, like this, I won't explain what, but whether or not what elements of it ends up coming true and not. And I was like, what the fuck is this prophecy? Like, I had completely forgotten over the years that I was like, I don't know what we're talking about. But yeah, it's fun to then see, and then me looking at it when the prophecy was, that I was like, huh, okay, like I know what's coming, which I won't say in this episode, but it is very interesting to hear the prophecy in this portion.
Right. There's so much to it too. There's what, like 8 or 9 different things just within it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I really like
there's
Ephraim.
a lot of reading into it that people have done. I don't know how much of it's gonna end up as accurate, but
yeah. I think as we do throughout all of these books, as we've been, well, Merlot, you know that we just sit there and laugh at you as us who have read
trying to
Lightbringer.
analyze tells. Are there tells right now? Watch the two of you.
But my favorite thing to do is Merlot especially has some, and we won't say who because it is kind of spoilers even for us to say during Dark Age because it comes out more at the end of Dark Age. But you have a bet on somebody's redemption story, and it is just entertaining to us and maybe we know nothing. And so I just like teasing it out of like, I'll just sit here and eat popcorn because maybe nothing happens during Lightbringer. Or maybe something does, and we don't.
Yeah, nothing at all.
Nothing.
Didn't cry at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We're less than a month. Are we
less than a month?
Yeah, we're in 3 weeks territory.
Guys, a month today,
3
we'll
weeks
all be
tomorrow.
hanging out in Tulsa.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
I'm super excited.
Yeah. It's going to be so good. But, yeah. But for prophecy-wise, in Dark Age and not Lightbringer, it's entertaining to see what people are reading into certain things. And who knows? It might be a whole load of shit from Asgard.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Right.
Yeah. But I do like this lower, as you say, the like night hanging out at the campfire, Ephraim just kind of getting to know people. Like, you get that.
Handing out his gray fox wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the leader.
Yeah.
Prophesies to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that about Ephraim is like I feel like these last couple chapters and then into kind of this section even, you're really seeing Ephraim kind of come into his own with Pax, with Elektra, right, with Asgard, with the whole tribe of them. Like it's very interesting and you really start to, I think, like I've really enjoyed Ephraim a lot throughout this entire year, but I feel like especially through these parts, as you watch him with the Skoogie and stuff, you're like, okay, Ephraim is honestly a really great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he's not whacked out on substances, he's like pretty genuine. He's very clever.
Yeah.
Kind of pretty empathetic and reads people very well.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of fun. But the night kind of ends not quite as expected.
Sour note.
On a sour note, why is Freyhill taking so long? Well, they don't even go after that. He just wants his coat from the ship, right? And then is like, oh, look what I found.
Yeah, how did Freyhill take so long finding this?
Yeah. Go back, get Asgard. And then we discover that Freyhill is
worthy.
Literally hooked by like a fish.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the worthy thing, the one thing, what was it? It's interesting because they even call it out, is how the first time he goes up there, like it went back and had to reread it a couple times to find it. He goes up there, and when he's looking, he's like, oh, look at all this I found. It's like, it's all sitting there by the base of a pale tree. set to a jagged obelisk, and it wasn't a fucking tree. It was Sung Pa.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, because remember he goes back and he's like, yeah, there was a tree here, but it wasn't a tree.
Mhm.
It was a giant Askamani.
Yeah.
That's wild. Actually, I've never picked up on that.
Oh, there you go.
Like I've
Could be
noticed
very
obviously
wrong.
him saying that the tree was here, but
But not that who it was or what it was. Interesting.
yeah,
We can, well, maybe that's one to ask him. To be
Yeah.
reading into things.
But
Then yeah, Ephraim and Osgard both get absolutely Askamani handled.
demolished. Yeah,
yeah. Osgard loses his eyes. Both, right?
no,
Or
just one.
Just one? Just one.
Yeah,
There's a
Bob
lot of
puts his
eye
thumb
things
through
in
it.
these one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, and then you see
and then
just the immensity of Fa, where like Ephraim turns around and Fa's like crouched. He says, standing eye to eye with him. Just like picture this giant human kneeling next to a child who looks like Ephraim.
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Like Ba, I would say is probably Ragnar sized.
I was gonna say,
It's
like, are we thinking slightly bigger? Are we thinking the same? So I'm just
funny because we talked about this last time I was on. And I was thinking about that. I wonder how he compares size-wise to Ragnar.
yeah.
Yeah, I would guess probably very similar.
Largest the human there.
Just looking it up before I accidentally spoil. Oh, maybe not.
Okay, hang on. While you're looking for that, I'm gonna
Yeah,
go.
you look for.
find
Oh,
it.
yeah. Okay. No, I did find it. Okay. I dislike
spoiler?
that the black one. No, it's not a spoiler. I was looking for whether or
Okay.
not, because I listened to it, if it's in bold.
Oh,
Because-
yep, yeah. He is very much.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah. I don't like that the French one, Dark Age, is upside down. I don't think you can tell, but they do it.
It's a French one?
Yeah. English is the only language that goes this way. All other
Interesting.
languages always go that way. But so when you get the French
Why?
versus the. I don't know.
Some Americans are weird. I don't know. English are weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
I saw a cover. I know where this is going on today. I saw a cover for one of these I'd never seen before, and it was all. I'll have to find it and share because it was like a Northern European country. I don't recall which, but it was a really cool looking cover. I was trying to figure out if I could find it.
I love some of the covers. Like, this is actually Dark Age Part 2 because the French divide them all. If you buy them in French, you have to play both parts. Dark Age Part 1 looks the same, but Dark Age Part 2 is this one, which I like because it's the reverse.
Okay.
Oh, actually, right here is my Iron Golds.
Was it much? It does. I mean, it looks much thinner.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, they come in the two. Anyway. No, so I was just wondering, because we know, talk of Ragnar. Ragnar talks in bold, and this is now the first other character we get that speaks in bold. And we know it's that deep bellowing. Yeah. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know how he connects versus how tall he is to Ragnar. Like, how similar are they? But, yeah.
Why is Volsung Fa there? Jump in.
Why is he there?
We I guess we really don't
We don't know.
necessarily know.
No, and he kind of disappears at this point because everyone thinks he's kind of like a fever dream of Ephraim and Asgard. They're like, no, like you guys killed Freyhill.
Yeah, as if they could manage that, especially in the way
Right?
it was done. Like, come on, you guys.
Doesn't he say, though, he did come to contest Sephi? Part of that?
Mm.
To those two? I feel like they have like a very short interaction. Obvious
Not that
versions.
I recall, but my brain is broken.
Yeah, I feel like we should put
Oh.
a disclaimer on this episode that poor Crescent has worked insane hours this week. So we're getting a more tired Crescent than we normally get.
Here you go. I got your back. It's right after, and you
Appreciate
said
that.
that, the Scooty was worthy. It's right after that, at the end of 45. I've honored her strength. It's part of me now. Blah blah blah. Give her heart to your lyre queen. Tell her I've heard her. I've heard in the ink she is queen of all Volk. I've come to contest her claim, but she is now prey.
Yes.
It's like his only. Yeah. To that end, nobody believes him.
Yeah.
And then I love that immediately after that he just turns and walks away. And everyone's
Bye!
like, who are you? And then
It
just
was-
like out of the darkness,
Oh.
Like, oh, that's
That's
horrifying.
Yeah.
Just
He's got
Well,
places to
Francis
be,
Nightmare
okay?
Fuel.
He's got places to be.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So then we're back trying to explain this, Freya's death and everything else. And we do end up learning a little bit more of what's been happening in the tribe with Sephi being sick, a few things like that have come through at this portion. Because Valdir doesn't have to really hold back his true emotions because it's Sephi's like, no, like, I've been allowing it because she's basically poisoned, yellow poison, yellow death or something.
Yeah, the yellow death, it's a DNA poison.
Yeah, and so nobody can touch her flesh in any capacity. Her arms, like, basically oozing off.
Yeah, so it's kind of unclear whether it's nobody can touch her or nobody can touch the portion that's infected.
Right.
I would imagine that it's only the portion that's infected, and that's why she wears the long glove.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so now we know why, while hunting the drake, she could not pull back her bow, why she's allowed Valdir to lie with another woman, if you will, that they've all kind of been covering a little bit for her during this.
You guys remember way back? It's kind of by the Ladon. Talk about. Thought it was Atalantia, but maybe it's the Fear Knight testing out some new poison.
Mm.
Or like chemical warfare kind of thing. Do you remember that? Would you think these two are the same thing?
I don't think so. I think what she was testing was in Angelia. Because you remember they go into the it's like a mining control facility. And there's he says it's omnicide, there's everybody's dead, and it looks like they all killed each other or something. I can't remember exactly. And it's basically they are making making it so that they'll bring in yellows to analyze what's going on, and then they set off the shield generator explosion and kill all of the science teams.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yep.
Sorry, tangent.
No, it's all good. Well, someone asked in the den whether or not it's the same poison that the Ash Lord had, but I don't think so, because he was more that almost seemed when his death was more of a conventional poison, if you will, like those people who get slowly poisoned over time by rat poison, you're just stuck in bed for an extended amount of time until it takes you. So I don't think that this was this, but that was this, but
yeah, I don't think it's the same poison. It does talk about how his flesh is almost scaly. when they see him on Venus.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's because Sephi has Xenophon treating her
Oh.
that
Yeah.
it's being held back, and just the Ash Lord didn't have somebody treating it. Which, I mean, you'd think he would,
Yeah.
but if
Yeah.
it came from Apollonius, so it's probably not the same thing because it's
No. I don't know. There's a lot of poisons out there. They don't all have to.
yeah.
Listen,
One is safe in the solar system.
Yeah, it's 1,000 years in the future. I don't think they're still sticking around with the poisons we have. They've got some pretty advanced things happening out there.
Yeah.
You know.
DNA coded poison. That's
Yeah.
that's some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Does that count as a war
chop
crime?
off her arm. Probably.
Yeah, well, and like she
They
even
probably
talks about
brought
that,
mustard
like,
cast back.
like if I
worse.
cut off my arm, it will come back elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. But and then right after this, we get Baldur kind of going a little nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little
Cuts her
bonkers.
table in half. Cuts his hair off.
Kills God
Yes.
Eater.
Beautiful creature.
Oh, that's the sad part of all of this. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just made a connection, but we can't talk about it till later.
Ooh.
Let's go ahead and talk about it. Cut this part of it. Keep it secret.
Keep it
Keep
secret.
it secret.
Keep it safe.
Keep it safe.
Yes. Totally on the same page there.
There's a griffin losing its head.
Yeah. Later?
Yep.
I'm not going to remember.
Merlot might. I don't want to spoil it for you. It's a
Okay,
it's a moment.
Okay, well then leave it.
I gotta think.
Oh!
I've been
No.
deliberately
No time.
writing
Okay.
notes.
All right. We'll move on for this. We can discuss
Those who know,
after.
know.
Yeah. I think I made the connection, but I'm not 100% sure, and that is definitely not in this portion, so we're moving on.
Exactly.
But yeah, so we get... But I think, isn't Valdir supposed to be on some kind of hallucinogen... Like,
Yeah.
there's a reason he's going crazy.
Beaver cloud mushroom.
Mm.
Which is what the berserkers use to summon the winter rage.
Yeah.
Which has been outlawed. Sephi has gotten rid of it. There is no more berserkers.
Oh.
Yep. They talked about
This
it
is where-
a little bit earlier.
This is where the doubt in Asgard continues to be sown. Someone, if not him.
Yep.
Could it be?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot happening in here. Like, politics, accusation-wise, not knowing who to trust. Like, I think Ephraim at this point is like, you know who I trust? The 2 children, and that is it.
Yeah.
And they are only allowed to trust him. Like, and they do. It's really cute where he just keeps being like, you wearing your harness? Yes.
Every 13. You got that harness on?
Yes. You get the harness? Yes.
Yes, Dad.
Yeah, exactly.
I love their cute little their code with the P's.
I want someone to decrypt that code so we know it.
So yeah, we can start sending messages being...
And have to
Send
decode.
message in P's.
I just thought of a great tattoo idea. Some people know that I do not get tattoos unless people are dead. If you're alive, I have trust issues and I'm never getting a tattoo for you, whether or not I know you or not, which is a huge ongoing thing because Pegasus Legion all wants tattoos, and I'm like, we'll think about that. But I have a friend who has braille tattoos because dots are so easy to cover up that you get like, if you want a tattoo for your significant other, you just get braille, and then if you break up, you can hide it. And if we can decode the P code, it would basically be braille. I would get that tattoo. a whole bunch of dots and things. It'll just say
All right,
Red
Pierce.
Rising and dots.
You gotta make the whole code now.
Yeah.
Make the whole code just so I can get it as a tattoo that I could potentially cover up. That's,
You have 30
that's what we're
days
seeing
in
here.
Tulsa. Get Bruce
Yep.
getting a tattoo.
Yep. I'll get Pegasus Legion in dots, but not just in Braille. Right here.
Pegasus
No.
Legion.
Yeah.
Just don't misspell it in your code. That would just be so
That would be
embarrassing.
okay, but who would
Yeah.
know other than like Pierce? I come
You
up to a
wouldn't.
signing and I'm like, look what I got, and you just watch him go. It's like with those people that it's like, look, I got
You'll
happy
regret.
in Chinese, and they're like, that's a soup. Like that'll be like, look what I got, and Pierce is like, that's not what that says.
Soup makes some people happy.
I love soup. I eat soup all the time. But
Eat soup when cold.
yeah, if we can get the P code as a, spelled out for us, I'll do that.
Get here first.
Yeah. I would love if it's just literally they're making words out of it and hoping that nobody else can spell.
The school's playing with their food.
Yeah. Has anyone
Yeah.
seen Easy A? In Easy A, they do she's like, oh, yeah, I got in trouble for a bad word. And what word? And she spells twat in her P's. And then the younger brother is like, what is it? What is a twat? Nothing!
Good one.
Anyway.
A long time since I've seen that show.
Oh my god, I love Easy A. It's so good. But, yeah, I love Ephraim with the kids. And Electra now finally trusting him and going along with everything. We also get a really cute moment in here. Not cute. Cute is not the word. Sad. But, like, I think it's the first time I really acknowledge Electra as a 9-year-old that she is. Where she starts talking about how, like, well, I'm not really the bargaining chip, even though Pax is now worth less.
Mm.
Right? So Pax is worth less because we assume at this point that basically both his parents are gone. So in theory, Electra is now the most powerful child, or parents are the most powerful in the solar system. But Victor will still always go after Pax as a debt to Mustang and Darrow. And you kind of get like little 9-year-old Electra's kind of still understanding of like, yeah, that's just how it is. And it's just kind of I don't know if cute or sweet is the right word, but just like, I don't know, that
somber.
heaviness. Somber, which you don't normally see from her. Normally she's just
No, you usually get more doer.
rough around the edges. Yeah.
I'll call that.
And you even get Ephraim acknowledging something to the effect of like, that was brutally succinct.
Yeah.
On that, just like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. Very interesting. I don't know. I feel like I need to at all times just have like a sign somewhere that just says Electra is 9, because you just forget it all the time because she acts like she's like a jaded 16-year-old. I just see her.
I mean, she is at least partially Jade.
Oh.
I'm not entirely out of game today.
No, you're still there. But yeah, but this ends with them trying to run away, and the oh my god, harnesses coming in handy. We finally find out what the harnesses are for.
Yes.
I loved
Careful.
watching in the setup though, like it going back down to world building, is talking about the start of that chapter. They're talking about Olympia and how much Sephi has helped to build up and kind of like open up, be more inclusive of like the low and the mid colors. They say like low colors are now construction workers, mid colors are like administrators to her, and like where so where the Bolognas, or where maybe it was just where Olympia, where like others were. Oh no, it was where Quicksilver just taking the money and pocketing it. She's just dumping it all back into Olympia and actually like making a pretty cool functioning society, like little niche in her part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's
Then-
trying
but
to
then
like
they do-
actually integrate the obsidian into society.
Yeah.
Then it was, it will all break when Sephi dies. Just not if, but just like when she dies, it will all break. Like there's just no question in Ephraim's mind when he's saying this. Like it's all going to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of that ideal, what we wanted to see in the full society, like what the Republic was attempting to do. But when you do it on such a mass scale, how, like, rather than Sephi, at least with her portion, she's done what she could manage, and then you just need it to build out. But when you try to do that, you know, times 1,000, times 1,000,000, like, it's just so much more difficult. And she doesn't have any, you know, she's not really pushing against anyone at that time. She's cleared the area rather than the Republic is still battling the golds that are out there. But and she can still act as a tyrant and do it, to be fair. She is still a one queen rather than having to go through the rather than having to go through the Senate. Yeah. Not that we're making a case that democracy's bad. I just figured out our wording on that one. We're just in the modern day, we like democracy, but maybe sometimes in the future it's easier to not have it.
Say democracy with a K, then you're.
There we go.
That's the way
then we're in the clear.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. I
And
say
then
as we
Ephraim.
both have our freedom weekends of Canada and the U.S. Let's both get our freedom days this weekend, and I'm like, what if we just didn't overthrow the British? We technically just negotiated with them, but if you guys didn't throw,
That's a very
We're the more
Canadian
rebellious
overthrowing.
ones. Yeah, sorry.
We literally
Oh,
didn't even
sorry,
negotiate with them. We went, I think we're costing you too much tax, like too much money, and they were like, you are costing us money. Please
Such an
remove yourselves. We just became an inconvenience until they gave us freedom. That's the way to do it.
Canadians.
Yeah. We don't want you anymore. And at some point, they were like, can you also take Newfoundland? That would be great. Guess.
It's just you. Take that one too.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. Yeah, what else? So we get the... Is there anything more before the epic escape attempt?
But you start to see the Republic news channels.
Oh,
This is
yes.
tying to kind of Lyria, where they're reporting that Sephi took down the Pandora GUI flagship.
Mm-hmm.
They think it was Sephi and the Obsidians.
Yeah, which I think Ephraim the whole time kind of questions of why would Sephi, like, they had this huge trade deal happening. Why would she target Victra? Like, why would she do that? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, he says, but why in Jove's name would Sephi attack Victra? She wouldn't. Like, that's it. That's it for him. It's just like, why she wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be Volsung Fa. Yeah, I think it's interesting that the Pale Rain Ephraim views as kind of their response to the rain on Mercury, where they lost so many people.
Yeah.
So they're just throwing people out of the Pandora to fall on Olympia. The other thing, we get like a quick little moment of little red boy trying to pickpocket Ephraim.
Yeah, and then he teaches
like,
him.
No, if you want to not get caught, like, you got to move your hands smooth. And then he shows him, and then the kid's like, "Oh, I know who you are. Fuck you," basically. Like,
gotta go.
Like, how nice.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah.
Because isn't it? It's basically the Pandora is what initiates his escape plan. Because he wasn't going to do it at that moment.
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly.
Yeah.
Then he saw everything kind of shit hit the fan, and
because
like escorting all.
Sorry, no, go. I was cutting
just
you
gonna
off.
say they were just gonna say they were escorting like all the low and mid colors away from like secure buildings and things like that. And then he's like, I gotta find the kids.
Yeah.
They're wearing their harnesses.
Yeah, gotta have those harnesses. Yeah, because at that point, I think he realizes okay, so the deal is supposed to go down with Victra for Volga, and does he know that Lyria is also in the deal? I don't know if we know that portion.
No,
Okay, so
I don't
he
believe
knows
so.
though.
Oh, yes. No, sorry. Yes, he
I think
does.
we do because in the Lyria
Yeah.
chapters they say
Yeah.
it was for both of you.
Yeah. Well, in the contract discussion,
Yeah,
it's like, I get my girls. He
yeah,
is what he calls them.
yeah. So then he, at that point, I think they know that, if Pandora's going down, we don't know if Victor's alive. We don't know that Lyria is alive. We don't know Volga. So the three key players, that the two he's going to trade for, basically, or be given, and then the
The one that he's
one,
trading to.
yeah, the one who is taking the kids, like, well, then it's all out the window. Like, why am I even here, basically? I don't need loyalty to anyone. I just need to protect the kids. And so, go.
Yeah. So as he's thinking about the pale rain, the Volga is likely one of those bodies dropped over Aegea. The thought almost sends me into a downward spiral, but I can't let it distract me. Without Volga, Sephi has no leash on me. She'll freeze my movement. And he's like, I got to get out now.
Yeah.
Because then the kids become real hostages, he says.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which we get during the escape plan, we get
through the city.
Yeah.
See, it's going to be so comical.
We get that, but then we also get kind of a mirror to when this book starts of we get Electra once again playing doctor. And then, like, you were awake for that whole thing? And he's like,
truly,
yes!
like you're putting a 9-year-old.
That's Full Metal.
Yeah, like just truly, like a child would say those words.
You're awake during that? But yeah, because they have to remove. He's basically got a tracker on. It's on his heart, right? And so they gotta.
Got his heart spike.
Yeah, they gotta remove it, and I just. Yeah. But yeah, and so you get kind of that throwback.
One shoots out of his leg with the magnet, and then the heart. He sees like the an alien moment. He sees the heart spike just like bouncing against his clothes or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pulling against his scarab skin.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, and then Electra once again. What Girl Scout troop is Electra part of that she has to learn how to identify all of these guns, how to perform all these random surgeries in which technically she doesn't give enough meds, but she tries.
Not her
she
fault.
gives
He's
enough.
an addict.
She gives enough, but
but he's got the buildup of it, but the immune system
addict.
to it. Yeah. I just love that. No matter what situation they're in, Pax is just sitting there philosophizing, let me go through the and Electra's like, it's fine, I've got this, I can take care of this. I just want to know what that training portion is, and the idea that Victra and Severo went, what are every single possibility our children could go through? We're going to train them on what to do. These are children full bred for not just war, but any situation.
They're prepared.
Yeah. Love it.
Well, I mean, look how prepared Severo was for the passage.
That's true. I totally forgot that. He could just immediately kill the top person. He was put in the room with the top person and could just... And then kills the... Doesn't he kill the wolf with his teeth?
Yep.
Yeah, that's how they get the wolf cloaks. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. That's kind of instinctual. And then...
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
And then Victor's just crazy. Yeah.
The grapes don't fall far from the tree.
Oh.
This guy.
And then we get the little moment between Pax and Electra.
I love
where they're insulting each other back and forth. And Pax ends up calling her Hatchet Face. And she's actually she's offended. And Ephraim's just like, I knew that bothered you.
Well, it's probably she could handle it. She's probably got such a tough skin to other people, but Pax is probably
Yeah.
that, like, she was just raised basically being like, Pax isn't actually going to hurt you. And then, like, at that moment, it's that, like, when your siblings do the deep cut of, like, I'm fully aware of what's going to hurt you
Yeah.
the most. And, like, you just see her be like, you actually used that against me? Like, oh.
How dare you?
Yeah. Like,
And some good
aw.
ones in there too. Troglodyte, Omniprick.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I love their little relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And Ephraim in that one too has a really good kind of observation around Pax. Like you kind of continue to see his growth. He's like talking about how he's kind of seen growth of Pax, like the surety in his eyes and like the even set in his jaws, all those
Yeah.
little things. He's like, I don't know if what does he say? It's a loss to the world that he's no longer a boy.
Mhm.
Such a good one in his head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it.
Does it say something about like basically the look in his eyes is his mother's, but the set in his jaw is his father's?
Ooh.
I don't know. That would
Or
be
is that later?
there.
If it's not stated, that's what that's my headcanon.
I like
It's
it.
not stated, but it makes sense. Surety in his eyes, the set of his jaws. When did it happen? When did he stop letting others choose for him? Also, it's that one at least.
Yeah, that's kind of it for the
Yeah, that's
series.
pretty much it. They make their exunt,
Yeah,
and that's the end of Ephraim for these chapters.
that's it. But as we have that, I would say mirror point of view is Lyria's. Actually, kind of
Mhm.
at this point, they all more intermix than they did at the beginning, or even in Iron Gold. But I think the direct mirror is Lyria, where we start her off and she's in the crazy prison cell that just keeps doing shit. And we
Yep.
know she's writing, at this point, she's writing notes to Volga, who is on the other side of the grate or whatever.
So I think it's funny. There's no way. Like there's absolutely no way that they're just like dropping these messages in and they're making it to the other person's room.
Doesn't make
Oh.
sense if you
Unless
think about it.
like
You think that, like,
and
Victor
so
is allowing this to occur?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um
Okay.
so this is spoiling just a little bit. It actually may even be in these chapters. I can't quite remember. Oh, it definitely is because Figment dies.
Yeah.
But she talks about how, actually, it's in this chapter. She was talking about how like it was cute to watch this happen. So they're intercepting these messages.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. You don't
So,
want them, like, planning
oh
a
yeah,
coup, but also you're in an elaborate spaceship. There's no way. And these rooms move and tilt and do gravity weird things. There's no way that the two greats just at all times happen
yeah,
to, like,
exactly.
work their way out. I found it really interesting of just, like, world building aspect where Lyria talks about how, Lyria has better handwriting, but only knows, like, 20% of the words rather than
Yep.
like clearly Volga's got far more literacy, but I just picture her giant hands trying to make out on these tiny
Trying to
strips of
scrawl with the
The fingernail.
edge of a fingernail
yeah.
Yeah.
dipped in blood.
Yeah. So it's just really interesting, but I think that callback of how Lyria really would have been illiterate completely without Cavex, and she calls it out.
Yeah,
If I wish I knew, like if I had spent
I
more
wish I got to
time with
spend more
Cavex.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so she can like figure out 20% or whatever of the words because of it. It's just an interesting thing. But yeah, and then they do come let them out while Lyria's hanging like a bat. That's the
Yeah, and she's like, "What? Like, basically, like, what are you doing here? This is my territory now."
freaking love it.
And Figment's like, "Oh, you're an idiot. This is a simulator room."
Yeah, and can punch it in. Which we
Yeah.
later find out, spoil just a little bit, but it's Elektra's playroom, which I think then speaks to what we were saying of like she figured out in 13 days or something, which is way faster than Severo could figure it out, like all of
Yeah.
this. Yeah, I just love that it's like of course that's
Well, and,
what
like-
they did. Of like at the age of 4, they stuck Elektra in there and
Right.
was like, have at her.
Yeah, that absolutely tracks for the Barcas.
Right.
But like when Lyria and Volga come out, there's like a bunch of pilots and shit like lined up waiting to go into these rooms.
Yeah.
So they're like flight training simulators, like they're everything, it seems like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want
really
one.
interesting.
Volga does, which I really enjoyed in this one, is Volga's actually like absentmindedly talking about Volson Fa, but she's talking about him like he's some like nightmare
Yeah,
story
like a
kind of
myth.
thing.
Yeah.
Mhm. So it's interesting to see kind of all the mentions and stuff like that, because then she also has a callback to Atalantia. They don't call her out by name, but she talks about the woman
Yep.
who comes around with the
With the
necklace of a
snake.
snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, the snake.
So in her
necklace
youth,
and
so you're like
panels.
all the influence points throughout their history.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's super interesting of what we're discovering. But you get a lot thrown at you in Lyria's chapters. I think in this portion, Mustang has Mustang, it's mostly stuff we already knew, just rehashed, rather than Lyria, we're learning a lot more. Yeah, so the stories of the Volsum Fa, and then we find out who Volga is, that she is the child of Ragnar. And like, yes, still made in a lab, but has his DNA. And that's why it's worth so much. Yeah, we get that. We get who Figment is, which we can go into in a bit, but so much.
Mm. I mean, I
Excuse
think
me.
we're right where
That's
meet Fig, pretty much, after a
Yeah.
kneel to the chest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
So
mean,
is Figment a brown? I was
No, so-
trying to recall that.
No,
Can
she's
change.
Brown that
she's
stabbed her in
whatever
the chest
she
isn't. Oh.
she can
she's
change.
whatever
She was like-
she gets paid to be.
Yeah, so she
And
that's
is
never
the
had
brown
someone
at the
face well as Madame
beginning.
Barca.
And I think she shows up as a brown in this scene too, because
Yeah, so she's-
Lyria can recognize her.
Currently brown
Okay.
mode.
But yeah, she's whatever she wants.
She's got some cool tech in her,
Yeah.
which I know we'll learn about.
Yeah. I always picture, oh my god, this is my dragon. I still haven't gotten rid of all my dragon stuff. If you go to Disney, there's Figment the dragon who can kind of become whatever. It's the weird ride. It's the most boring ride. As like an adult, you're not going on it. It's the weird like 70s you go through, and it's your imagination can create whatever, and you just scroll through. But that's always, every time I hear Figment, I think of Figment the dragon who can just become whatever he wants to be and just pops up and does all these weird things and changes colors and all this. And is that a reference, Pierce? Did you name Figment after Figment the dragon from Epcot? Probably not, but that's what I think of every time I see Figment.
That was actually the reference at the gala that he said nobody's ever gotten. You just got
Is
it.
Figment the dragon?
Figment, it's his childhood movie, I bet.
No, at some point he lived in one of the Carolinas, so that's close enough to Florida.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah, he's lived in
One
11
thing I had a
different
question
states, so.
for you guys on this. So in this scene, because I wrote it down, talk about, right, in the playroom, talk about that there was a painting of Aja's beheading. And in the painting, you see Arrow, you see several, all these other, but then it said you see a stooped, ugly, very tall man in pristine white armor, patterned with birds and a sun, looking sheepishly at the blood. Who the hell is that?
It's Cassius.
It is Cassius.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I was, for some reason I
Yeah,
couldn't.
but it talks in that description. It talks about how Severo is like, this super handsome
Right. Yeah.
guy,
That
and
makes sense.
so that's
because it's a
mirrored by
fucking-
the art at the triumph at the beginning of Iron Gold, and Sevro's like, you know, you look like your like your parent, like your mom plowed an angel or your whatever, and I look like oh, what the fuck does he say? It's like I basically just like some little demon. Let me look it up here.
I'm so dense. I didn't even. I forgot that it's like we are in still the Julie's ship.
Yes.
So of course, the paintings.
They're gonna play up how great Sevro is. How great. Yeah. Barca. They
so
call because they call her Lady Julia, and she goes Barca. Why can nobody get that? It drives him crazier. He's so sensitive to that. And she's like, no, it's Barca.
That's funny now. I seriously sat way too long. Like, well, it can't be Cassius because he's a handsome guy. So no, it's not him.
No, they're totally gonna write him up.
They made him look very ugly.
Yeah. We don't like Cassius. Good. Yep.
I would like that painting now.
Be hilarious.
Right?
Someone's got to have done fan art of that.
Oh yeah.
It's got to be out there.
I've never seen it, but
maybe. All right, someone make some fan art of it. Yeah.
We will pay a reasonable amount of money to buy that from you.
A reasonable amount. Hmm.
Well, that's disappointing. Where the fuck did it go?
We'll never know.
Gonna remember it as soon as we sign off tonight, and
we're just gonna get a text that says it's this.
I found it. Okay. There's one instance of the word plowed in Iron Gold. It's in chapter 10.
How do you have? Are you like putting this all into a computer that you can just control?
Google Playbooks.
Okay.
Yeah. So. It's a romantic rendering of the Phobos address, my speech that launched the rising of Phobos 10 years ago. I look young and radiant in paints of gold and scarlet, and float on grab boots, Kate billowing behind me like a magenta storm cloud, flanked by Howlers, the Sons of Ares, and Ragnar, even though he wasn't exactly there. Sevro's jaw clenches. That doesn't look anything like me. He nods to his own image. He's right. The eyes of the rendering are blood red and insane. His hair's standing on end. His teeth look like rows of shattered porcelain. You look like a bloody saint plowed an angel, and out you pop. I look like a deranged fucking mutant that eats babies.
Well, in return, Victor clearly went, we will make Sevro look gorgeous and Cassius look like shit.
Stooped, ugly old man.
Yep. Yeah. So stooped, that Cassius. Clearly the worst looking of all of them. Yeah. Yeah. I bet his hair's not even curly in that picture.
Maybe he's bald.
Can you imagine they just went, you get nothing. Nothing. Too funny.
Curly hair, but a really rank widow's peak.
It's like Last Action Hero kind of widow's peak. No? Too much?
That one doesn't register for me.
Oh, I'll send you a picture. It'll register.
But yeah, so, alright, moving on from the simulator there, we get, so Figment taking them into the bathroom, and they finally get showers and everything. Actually, before that, Volga has picked her own handcuffs. because we know
Oh,
that
yeah.
they're treating, like, Lyria pretty much just gets to walk around free because they're like, what is she gonna do? Because they have to put the collar on her, and then she's like hands out front, and she's got the handcuffs are actually off, so they have to recuff her. And so then they send her into the shower, which then is where all shit goes crazy.
Well, and just before that too,
Yeah.
they tell her that Lionheart is dead, so they
Yes.
do let Volga and Lyria know.
That's right, because they're kind of using it against Lyria of like, I bet you that makes you happy. That like, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Lyria is like, no, it fucking doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
Shit for brains.
Read the room.
Yeah, because they keep calling her Vox, don't they? They keep being like, oh, you're probably one of the Vox. Like, yeah. But yeah, and then Lyria hears some weird noises in the shower. And
Yeah,
has
gets
to
a
go.
cut on her head from nothing.
Yeah.
A
and
near
then at the...
invisible blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't see it looking edge on.
Yeah. Calls for Fig, who's like pissed off to be there until realizes there's a giant hole in the wall.
Yeah, this fucking piece of bulkhead just like goes out into space. What?
Which then, like, Lyria talks about waiting for the, like, to get sucked out, and nothing happens. She's just chilling. And then, yeah. Which I also like that at some point, Lyria finally remembers that she's naked in all of this, and is like, oh, shit, right. Like, grab some clothes. Yeah. But yeah, so we know something weird, like, what is it described as? It's like not
veiny membrane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is what they're like popping out of. But yeah, then it looks like a large baby, they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until it stands.
I always imagine like the like early 90s Batman cartoons, the Clayface.
Oh.
Like kind of how he's
I will have to look up. I don't know.
it's kind of a deep cut. But just like that sort of shape, just smaller.
It's yeah. Kind of had a Danny DeVito as the Penguin in my head.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's also
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the Ascamani come up hopping in.
Yeah.
flopping in even.
Well, yeah. Love the descriptions of them though, because they all. I'd be curious to, and I don't know, my memory evades me now, and I refuse to go any further than this section until we finish this. But if they did tell more about the different types of Ascamani, because like when they were describing them, I actually thought of like was the Flood from Halo 2, those creatures.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that right. So like right, different types of them, and so there's the tall ones. There's like 5 or 6 or whatever ones that are super long, tall, like maybe more of a traditional obsidian. But then there's one that Lyria calls out that's even I think shorter than she is in terms of the Ascamani. And they, their skin dark red, earth red skin, more like a hide, covered in grease, white scars, and the amphibian folds, Voldemort there, eyes, ears, nostrils.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, this is like the horror sequence, if you will.
Absolutely.
It's not just action, it is pure horror of like, you don't know what's coming around you. You're just running through the like hallways, dark at some points that we know that at least like Lyria talks about. Yeah, Lyria talks about at least her mind eyes can sometimes see whatever. And then I like that eventually they do end up in a weapons room and like Volga's like, fuck yes. And Lyria's like,
cracks the fingers. All right, let's go.
Yes.
We've got this. Lyria's like, I don't know what to do. Volga's like,
I love
just
that.
I am on
rifles.
It shows a lot, like, because obviously Lyria in the cell was like, waiting to die, and then she decides, I'm going to fight for this. And they fucking end up outside the ship, and Lyria is holding on to the ship and Volga,
Yeah.
and fighting to keep them
Yeah.
from falling out into space. It's
Yeah.
that's a huge shift.
For sure.
And then she looks down the kilometers long hole, just see more and more and more Askamani breaking into the ship or breaching the ship in just different parts of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they eventually get into the room, and guess who's sitting there?
Yeah.
Just
Victra herself.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Victra El fucking Barca.
Yeah. Just hanging out.
What was the gotta quote that. What does she say? Skipped a woman out. Yeah.
This is actually, just while you look that up, in the Ephraim chapters is when we get the Victra, I cannot tell a lie, Julii.
Yeah.
It's this sequence that we get that from Ephraim's, like, you're not exactly Victra, I cannot tell a lie, Julii.
Yeah.
Well, and even before we get to her Victor's escape pod, because Philip helps gets there, going back to your horror comment, that whole chapter run is like a horror movie, right? You just picture this long hallway with flashing lights where it goes black and then red, and then just swarming shadows.
It would make such a good haunted. I love a good haunted maze, haunted house. It would be so good.
And then all the while, the radar beeps.
Oh yeah, when ping, 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 ping.
Yeah.
I don't know if Merlot. I don't know if you audiobook it or not.
I just done it once. I've actually you have actually kind of inspired me. I'm like, I want to listen to this more. I'm thinking about maybe just buying them. I want them.
Because they vocalize the pings, and it's very much 1, 2, 3, 4, 12, 15. It's very rapid fire. Just showing how many there are. And I mean, part of it is because I'm listening to it at time and a half, but it's it's really fast.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they describe it moving through Noel G, they're just swimming, just dancers just floating through it.
Yeah, well, and Lyria's one of them looks at me basically you're next, and the only reason it's not killing her right then is because it would ruin the flow of how it's planned to move through the room. Terrifying.
Yeah. Well, then all the while,
and they don't feel pain.
Yeah, headshots register.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what's the line from? Yeah, Victra. It's they don't feel pain. It's only headshots. Straight to the
pain doesn't register. Headshots do.
Yeah.
Also, what the fuck is up with Figment's gun? Bending light.
I don't think I paid enough attention to. No.
Yeah, here I'll find it here.
We have failed you. Oh yeah, we can't forget Fa. Makes another appearance. It goes back to the room they were in, but when Olga is helping Lyra, she's like, "Get the knife. There's a knife in my thigh." And there's where is it? Which pockets? It's literally
in my thigh. And Lyria doesn't want to pull it out, and then it's Volga moves back so that Lyria's oh shit, because Lyria's I don't think you should, because you should not from a point of view pull out something in your thigh that's keeping the blood in. And I just love it. It's moves back, so it's
it's actually there.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So when Volga like fakes out Fig, she's like searching on the ground for whatever, and then kicks the fucking locker in. It says, "I hear a grunt and a familiar gunshot. The top of the locker divides. Light bends in the room. A half meter of bulkhead parts like butter pushed apart by two fingers." Like, what in the unholy fuck is that gun?
Did miss that. Well, that's the same gun that shoots open that one of the Ascamani's like stomach earlier. Like just
Yes, yeah,
they
so
described the
I swear,
multi-purpose there.
Figment just does what she wants to do.
Figment just comes in like a wrecking ball, man. She is an amazing creature.
Yeah.
I want more Figment.
Womp womp.
Oh, that's right.
We're not there yet. She's still alive.
Don't take this away from us.
She's got like another chapter.
Yep.
Yep.
One thing I am curious about, kind of going back to Volsung Fa, right? So they're in that hallway. They all come down. They get close, and then up the elevator comes Volsung Fa, and he offers the stains to Volga. He described Volsung Fa with the like traditional, we'll say, like white ponytail of the Obsidians. But all the other Ascamani, they say, have the black coarse hair in their braids. I'm curious, like that division. I know they kind of talk about it because it goes by different names, but he basically just went there, came there, all father, and then they just kind of came under him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he basically, well, they haven't even talked about it at this point.
Yeah, we don't know.
Not that I recall, anyway.
I don't remember.
Yet.
They do talk about it in the book, like in this book.
Well, it's an ongoing
dead.
discussion that people have had about how the obsidian are all white, even though the term obsidian should make them like have black features. So why is their hair white? Right? But is it that some of them have black hair? Like,
no, well, I mean, maybe, but the only obsidians we ever hear about have white hair.
yeah, it's just interesting to me because it almost goes
They
the
do
reverse,
have,
and maybe
they do
just
have black eyes though.
so all colors may be based on eyes versus other features. Because this is the first one that we know of that kind of doesn't fully match the color descriptor. Like the reds have the red hair and the red eyes, and not like I have. Someone called me a copper. They're like, you don't have red hair. You're copper. You're a copper, and I was like, I would be a copper. That is, yeah.
Geez, Skipper.
Yeah, come on, Merlot.
I need to have like some super stressful event and have my hair go gray.
Yeah.
So maybe silver.
I like 4 grays.
I'm surprised I don't have any gray hairs after this week, honestly.
I have a few white, but they come out as blonde, so nobody knows. But yeah, so the obsidian are just, it's interesting to me of not the color. But yeah, I guess their eyes, that would be something.
Yeah, and these ones, they describe like reptilian kind of eyes. Just inside looking ready to murder something.
Well, that's it. Isn't the Escamani at this point basically reptilian is a lot of the way they're described? It's kind of the like, you know.
Yeah, they're like, they basically pressure seal themselves.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
I definitely imagine them having like the lizard.
Like
eyelids.
Yeah.
Like they have multiple eyelids.
So they can seal from both sides.
The outer one, but then they have the inner one that kind of closes off fully.
Interesting. All right, well then we get Victra fucking punches them out. But then, like, so do we assume, because Lyria says, I doubt Victra put me in the escape pod, but I think we kind of assume that she dies. Because Lyria
jumps into it.
Yeah,
right?
Lyria
She
falls
jumps
into
into
the
the.
escape pod.
They're
Oh,
like debating who's going to go first, and then
yeah,
Lyria's just like, "Fuck it, I got this."
yeah,
Jumps in, and then the quote is, "She tilts her beautiful head at me in amusement, and then punches me in the face."
yeah. But then Lyria still gets like fully actually like locked in,
Mhm. Yeah,
and like the assumption is that Victra, as much as punching her out, is like, fuck, fine.
sure. Yeah, you
Still
don't
put
get to
your
see this.
seatbelt on you.
Either that, or Victra punches her out, and then all of a sudden,
Volga
Volga comes
shows up. Oh
down, and
yeah,
it's like,
Mm.
now there's an obsidian, and the obsidian just reaches over and does it for her.
yeah,
You also have Fig too, who like moments before this is talking about how, yeah, I'm going to help you because I don't get the second half of my payment until I deliver you two to Sephi.
yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe Figment's just taking care of the cargo.
That's true.
yeah, yeah. That's also a possibility.
Okay, so maybe not Victra. I'm just picturing at this point, Victra, I will punch you in the face, but then nicely put your seatbelt on you.
Yeah.
Could see
Apparently
Auntie Victor.
not. Like it's yeah. Fucking hell. But
But
yeah,
Lyria
then
wakes up freaking mid crash.
yeah. Yep.
Fuck that.
Yep.
That why? Tell me more.
You want to wake up mid spaceship
No, I
crash?
wanna
No, not at
No,
all.
let me go out without waking up, please.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then well, it's interesting, like I'd love to see it displayed how it's sprawled out because we find out Victra ends up like under a tree and like
Yeah. Well, like
Figment
the escape craft, whatever it is, it sounds like it's quite a bit bigger
yeah.
than you might imagine an escape pod to be. But it's in two pieces, and the
Yeah.
front half is fucking hanging off a cliff. Because
Yeah.
Lyria wakes up and she's looking down into this fjord.
hmm
Yeah. But yeah, and then so Victor's got her legs trapped. Where's Volga at this point?
She's in the other half of
Volga
the
is
ship, or the same half of the ship. She's in one part of the ship. She like moves at some point.
Yeah.
yeah, no, she's in the same portion of the ship as Lyria is.
Yeah.
Because Lyria lets her out of the crash pod.
Yeah.
Mm.
And,
And
then,
then
Figment
she
is
basically the crash pod melts away from Volga's face, and she sees the fjord and like kind of freaks out for a second, and then the ship rocks and it's like, this may not move. And then takes us nearly 5 minutes to climb up out of the cabin towards the hole in the end of the ship. This thing is huge. Like, I mean, I guess it tracks with
like
Victra
think
being-
how
Literally
think how
everything else.
big because it is the Pandora not the largest ship that we have. No, no, it's the Morning Star.
the Morning
Still,
Star, right?
Star is still the biggest, yeah.
Yeah.
but the Pandora is fucking huge. Like
Yeah.
we're
Well, and then when they jump into the escape pod too, they say it's not just Barca; it's her and all like her guards.
oh, that's
Like,
right,
it's
all
room
the
and-
kitchen. Yeah,
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 kind of good sized.
yeah. But yeah, and then Figment. This is the part we get Figment dying, and Lyria is who
She's
is
unwounded.
with her. Okay, unwounded,
that
except for the
description, like-
giant thing like cutting her in half. And I was like,
Oh wait,
Hold on.
what?
wait a
You read
second. That does not sound unwounded. Yeah.
No, it's very
Yeah,
weird.
Red Rising Wiki doesn't have a size
Okay.
for the JBS Pandora,
Yeah,
but it's big.
it's big. Okay.
Fucking, it's big.
Fig was supremely disappointed that Lyria was the one who was there. She was hoping for
Yes.
Volga or literally anyone else. It seems.
Yeah, just not
Yeah.
her. Not because so we get that the weird thing comes out of Fig, the like squid, and then attaches itself. Does it go in her in her nose, right?
It says squid. Yeah,
Yeah.
right up her nose, like totally Matrix style.
Blah. No,
Yeah.
thank you. No, thank you.
Hundreds of hair-like arms tipped with little fibers.
Mm-hmm.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Yeah, straightened her nose, and then yeah, Victor is all just not even like really caring about Fig, just like who was with her. No, but damn it, like,
Yep.
not you. Yeah.
She's saying, just my gory luck. Severo's right. Cockroaches will inherit the world. It's not very nice.
No, this is it. So I am the biggest Victra stan. The biggest stan. And it is in this portion that I start to question this. Because, like, at this point, you think that she's been torturing Lyria and Volga. And she technically has. They just don't understand that they're supposed to be figuring out a simulator. Like, if you're not told it's a puzzle, why would you start trying to figure out the puzzle? But,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
she's
when
been
you
doing
assume her in
that.
prison.
She just cannot, like, won't even hear. At least Mustang heard out what Lyria's situation was. Victor's like, fuck you. Like, no, you are the reason my child is gone. No. Which, like, I get on some levels, but then to just, like, immediately, like, you show up and I punch you in the face, and then to, like, call her a cockroach. Like, it's just that, like, this is the portion until I would say directly after this where you see that whether or not Victor's protecting them because Lyria is now Figment or not, but like she kind of goes back to the Victra we love, but like Victra and Iron, I would say in Iron Gold even, where we get her talking about how coffee beans picked by slaves were better. Like she's not the Victra we kind of saw and loved in Morningstar. She goes through a little, like, you see a different, and it's probably because it's from a different perspective than just Darrow. And then we kind of start to get her back, and, like, okay, she's winning us back over. But yeah, there's some parts in this that I'm like, is that my favorite character? Is that the character who I'm rooting for above all else? Like, or maybe I'm just starting to like Lyria better and be like more sympathetic. But I'm like, Victor, what's happening to you right now? Like,
I think these chapters actually sold Victor for me.
really?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe that says something about me, but I was like just watching her go through all of this and just very transactional.
Yeah.
Like in the next scenes, right? She's like, "Well, they're gonna fucking kill us all, so let's go."
Let's
right?
go.
And just takes off, like doing all this while seemingly 8-9 months pregnant. Just like she's such a badass.
Yeah, that's what I like. And you do then get the little snippets, like I like that Volga and her just take off. And then when Lyria catches up, she's like, I told you she would follow the footprints. Like, it's one of those, like, we didn't fully abandon you. We knew you could follow.
Yeah,
but
it's just some tough love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite line in all of this, though, is when they ask her, like, okay, so how fast would you be if you weren't 9 months pregnant? And her line is basically like, it's rude to brag. Like, she won't answer, and she's just like, it's impolite to brag. Like, I was like, I love it.
That is why she and Severo are such a power couple.
Oh, yeah.
Because the two of them are just so wonderful together.
Yeah. But, yeah, there's, I don't know, at this point in, like, questioning, and then we get her back when you start to see that, like, I didn't fully take off on you. I knew you could follow snow prints. Like, you're fine.
Which is partially her being like, I know you have the parasite.
Yeah.
Also with the impolite to brag, her and Severo in Red Rising. Hey Severo, how fast can you run 2K? He's like, a minute and a half.
No different.
But I guess to him, he's not bragging. That's
No.
facts.
Yeah.
This is where in the when they're talking, because this is where they're talking about the playroom and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like telling her like, "Oh, that was Electra's playroom."
Yeah,
She
like, I
says-
wasn't actually torturing you. You were supposed to fucking figure it out. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
So to your point, like maybe she was just watching the whole time, but I really enjoyed where she's like, "If I were really torturing you, you would know. Just ask Severo."
Yeah.
I just love like she's always so like tongue in cheek on things she's saying. Like like sure she's kind of brash, but she's actually very kind of caring underneath all that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like that's what sold it for me. But that's my husband. Yeah.
Yeah. But this part is where we're looking off in the distance, and the red hand has appeared, which Lyria, I think, calls out first, and we get the first view back of Harmony, which I don't think they say who it is, but we know who it is. That is who killed Lyria's family, and Victra knows kind of why she would be attacking Victra at the same time. Yeah. And I think we learn at this point that Victra has read Lyria's file and is like, yeah, I know you were in camp. Is it 121? Yeah. So we get our first shots of the true bad guy.
You might call it out because she talks about like Victor calls her the chief bitch.
Yeah, it says her name is like Victor actually says her name is Harmony.
Okay.
She's talking about like half beauty, half scar, or something like going through that, and then Victor's telling her
beauty,
about
half horrible scar.
Yeah.
Victor's talking about how I think you kind of mentioned, but just like why Harmony's mad understatement, but that's the what was it? Have it? They killed her family.
Her husband and children died in a mine my family owned. That woman is why Severo's father ended up with his head in a box. Couldn't stand that Ares was a gold. As for how she knew I was here, and she trails off.
Yeah. And then I think at this point calls out Lyria, calling out being a Gamma. Says something along the lines of like, good luck, Gamma, or whatever. Like, yeah.
Because what they list off, she lists off the baby, her being a Gamma, and then calls a crow or something like that, whatever their pejorative is for it. But
yeah.
Then you do see another sort of moment of, I don't know, tenderness, weakness, whatever you want to call it, concession. I think they call it concession, where Victra goes and just like absentmindedly puts her hand on her stomach when she's talking about that, and then she's like, gotta go.
Yeah.
Her hand drifts to her belly, her only concession to fear.
Yeah.
She is still somewhat human after all.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
That's the end of Lyria for now.
I was gonna say that's it for now. Okay, before we move on to Mustang, I'm gonna have a continuity error because I remembered that I have the bracelet that Salem gave me that's WWCD, which is originally what would Cassius do, and now it's what would Crescent do. So we're gonna have a continuity error that I'm gonna only wear this in the second half, but
we'll see who catches it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were
you not wearing it in the first half?
Huh? Yeah. But anyway, the other thing, because I just exited the room and remember, so this is Figment the Dragon. I forgot that I actually.
Oh, neat.
It's fantastic.
Which rocks am I going in? Yeah. That is. So he's only a ride at Disney, but that is who Figment the Dragon is. I actually have artwork of like every dragon to ever exist. There you go. Yeah, so moving along to Mustang, who we discover is alive. We thought she was dead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not at Mustang.
Oh, for sure. But I feel like I thought she was gone at that part. And the way everyone keeps talking about her, she's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And actually my friend who's reading for the first time, she messaged me and she's like, I need to know. And I was like, do you actually? And she's like, no, I'm going through a lot of stuff right now. Just tell me whether or not she's dead or alive. And I was like, she is alive, just held captive. And she's like, okay, thank you. I was like, yeah. But we discovered that Mustang is being held captive by Lilith. And Publius. And the Abomination. Her brother's
that one's a little while in coming yet, but
Yeah.
like fucking the reveal. Ooh.
Well, this is it, because I think we all sit and focus too heavily on, like, how is Lilith still alive? Like, we don't know that part. But, so you're kind of focused so much on that, and then suddenly it's like, hold on. There is a jackal clone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clapping
Yeah.
in the background.
Yeah.
When you get that deep dive, even before that, for a while, where you think Publius is kind of, we don't think Publius is like touting that he's the mastermind behind all of this.
Yes.
He and the Vox
Yes.
are just like spouting off, like, "Ah, yes, we're so great. Look at us."
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to
Yeah, he's
take
like
the pandemonium
they,
chair.
Yeah.
the syndicate may have helped him, but like now he's gonna crush them basically. And then like all the cameras go dead, and the drones fall out of the sky, and there's a squid in his glass.
Yes. That's right. Okay, so leading up to this, before we have that reveal though, we actually get some important deaths.
Oh yes, yes,
At
we
least, like, we get Theodora
do. Theodora and Servilla Arcos.
is crushed by the rock.
10-ton? Is that what it says? 10-ton rock?
It's saying very French Revolution to me. It's not quite a guillotine, but it is a very public death, capital punishment, and one right after another without, I think, who's the Arcos?
Sevilla?
Servilla, I
Sevilla.
believe.
Villa?
Tries to say something and is gone. Like, you don't get to, yeah.
Oh, 10,000 ton stone.
Yeah. Well, because, like, Theodora's
Yeah,
is
that's
reduced
right.
to red.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get,
And I couldn't.
it is so French Revolution. Like, you get people who try and collect the blood. They're dipping their things in the blood. Like, it's so weird French Revolution. Like, I'm just picturing people knitting at the steps.
And it's all like the callbacks and irony with like how they're still celebrating, like they've changed out Darrow's statue or whatever to be Io, and like she's taking it and they're singing the song.
Yes.
And Virginia's just like reflecting, and she's like, "Yeah, I actually was kind of jealous of Io."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did love. I wrote that down. Was I cannot help but think Io loved him less than he deserved. I can agree with that.
Yep.
I don't want to start the EO fight again. We know our lore in the den.
Yeah, this one's 6
Look
months.
at your
in
shirts. You're talking about relationships.
Mine says I'm
am.
not here for the relationship.
Oh,
Mine
sorry,
says I'm here for
Crescent.
the spaceship.
Crescent and I will have a lovely discourse on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here with the spaceships. Thank you very much. Just shout out. These are both available on our Redbubble account, and you can get them in all sorts of different sizes or colors, since mine's purple.
And a much different cut.
Much different cut, yeah. Scoop neck. Thank you very much. But yeah, so EO, if you know, here's some lore to the Fate Obsidian is EO before we even had a podcast, but we had a channel in the den. I said I didn't like EO, and it erupted some feelings. And I think at this point, like, as some of the things we're seeing, I'm there with Mustang, that I think EO liked the idea of Darrow, and, like, to be fair, she lacked options. Like, when you're in the small high school or whatever, if you're in the small town that you're never going to get out of, you obviously need whoever is just the best. And Io was the popular girl who gets the pick of the pick, and she picks Darrow. I'm gonna say that Mustang liked Darrow for who he was far more than Io did. Just because, A, you're not 14 years old, and B, Mustang actually had pretty much all the options in the entire solar system. and so could go through of who her better match is. But yeah, we do get some interesting callbacks to now what Io could have, what she represents. And it's a very interesting dynamic. Wow. I don't know. It's hard. But it must be so hard, though, to Mustang of still, like, every time shit goes bad, they throw your husband's dead wife's song in your face. And you are, in theory, have committed your entire life and changed what you knew for her dream. And the dream...
you've literally torn down your society.
Like,
you're still the bad guy.
Your husband's dead wife's dream.
She could be...
And it's just like, hey, fuck you.
Yeah! Like... She actually, the Republic, like, society would not have fallen without Mustang. Never mind if it did miraculously and there was someone else in her place. Like, she would be at Atlantia right now. Like, she would be still that power move. And the Vox is still throwing it in her face of, like, you're not Io. And Io's the one we want. Like, ooh. Ooh. Not Io's fault, but still...
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard... Yeah, and then has to watch the people she loves die, and talks about how she should have been kinder to Theodora. Like, doesn't really say anything about the widow Arcos, but we assume knew her well.
There's a good spot on there about Theodora, about why she chose Darrow, to your point where she's talking about because she followed Darrow to war not because she believed he would win, because he was the first man to fight for her. So, like, being a pink. Yeah. She was a Rose even, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Or, like, doing all these things, and now she finally has somebody who's, like, fighting for her. He's acknowledging in that moment. That was very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the while, she can't move a freaking muscle.
A woman who survived decades of sexual humiliation to become a glorified maid, and then chose to follow a young man at war with the world, not because she believed he would win, but because he was the first man to fight for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's, like, such an undignified death for such a dignified character.
Right.
Yeah.
Though, I will say, she's fucking Full Metal as she dies. She just sitting there, straightforward, not begging, not crying.
Mm-hmm. Stoic as ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All the while, Mustang has to watch, can't move, can't speak, can't do anything.
She tries to say something. Isn't this the part that she tries to say something and it comes out complete gibberish, and then they're making fun of her?
And then they have her.
Yeah. And then at least they talk back to her, and she's like, "Well, at least I can understand speech."
Yeah,
because they're using like the pandemonium chair, but they're like throwing, like, at the beginning, they're like assaulting her with like the words and the pictures to get her to release information. She goes back through her whole like defense mechanism she's like instilled with Daxo, and how it would take some number of Psychotech's years to unwind what he did. And good thing there's none there or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they're using the psycho spikes against her.
Yeah.
They don't know how to actually use them well, so she just can't see, taste, smell, hear, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So twice they try to link psychotext directly to my brain as I did with the Duke of Hands. My security packet activates. I unleash neurological attacks. The first man dies of a seizure. Like, just instantly.
Yeah.
Dear
the
God.
second one's even worse.
And then the second blocks that attack, but suffers a headache and then kills himself.
And then kills himself, yeah.
Because of the insidious memories of trauma I planted in his head. Like
fuck.
Wow.
Mustang is so badass.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
my sovereign.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's where then Publius starts blah blah blahing about Virginia ignoring the voiceless majority and all the other nonsense he wanted to say, and we realize he actually has a squid in his glass. And he's not really the the think tank
Yeah.
he thought he was.
Yes. Yep.
I love that when that first happens, before he sees the squid in the glass, somebody yells, "It's Severo!"
Oh yeah,
It's like, oh fuck.
just kind of believable for a moment, just
Oh,
because we have
absolutely.
the scene in the Morning Star where Severo drops down, where they were laying back and forth about the tea and shit.
No,
Oh,
that's
that's
in
no, that's the
Dark
beginning
Age.
of this book.
That's earlier here.
Yeah.
Yep, that's in
Yeah, yeah.
chapter
I'm
27.
gonna go.
Yeah, that's with the
Okay,
Duke of
that's why.
Hands.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Ignore me. Yeah, you have the same thing where you're like, oh, this could be Severo, but no.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
They all escaped from a place called the Water Prison. Why can't I think of it?
Oh, Deep Grave.
Grave.
Yes, which,
Grave.
so we know that Darrow has taken people out of Deep Grave. How, like, I don't know, it's just fascinating to me now, Deep Grave, of like, how else are people getting out? But I guess you just pay out, know where it is, and pay off whoever you need to pay off, and I guess you could get out whoever you want, because yeah, the Bone Riders have now all come out of Deep Grave.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite that easy, considering the only people that have done it are Adrius / Lilith and Darrow.
Yeah, but it's still at some point like it seems to be that's more than should. Like
Need to
Darrow
question
technically should, yeah, even Darrow should not have been able to do it. Like, let's think this through.
Well, I mean, he's got intimate knowledge of its
Yeah.
routes and its safety protocols and all this stuff. Plus, he's got Theodora feeding him information and access codes.
But then Lilith can also do it, so that is still too many people that know how to do this.
Well, yeah, but
I'm just thinking they should rethink.
You need to
how this is
reevaluate
working.
their security protocol
Yes.
at Deep Grave.
yeah, should have a little implosion.
I was gonna say, who's gonna make the submersive joke?
I'll fall on that sword.
I already made one in the den
I'll,
today. I said today
I'll
that I
pop
would
that
not make
bubble,
one.
as it were.
Ooh. I already made one. I didn't make one in the joke. I said, or in the den. I said that other people could add their
Insert
terrible
it.
joke. Yeah, insert joke about
And
the
you
Sub-Zero.
basically served it up. We all knew.
I need to get a boat out of Newfoundland. I don't know. Polar Prince seems a little fair right now. No one else wants it. Ugh. Which, whatever. We could go into a whole thing about that's technically that area. And let's not go in that.
How about the Bone Riders?
Yeah,
those Bone Riders are
They're debauchery.
Those totally
like,
insane,
crazy. Like they're losing their mind.
Pale,
they're doing all kinds of different substances.
From their time in our aquatic prison.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing all sorts of different substances we learn later. And drinking literally all of Darrow's scotch. Like, the poor scotch.
Scotch, wine, every bit. Just like treating Britannia Craig. Or no, Ag Craig, she's a silver. Just has a sword fight with her. And he just hears her thumping onto the ground.
Yeah.
Yep.
On people.
Yeah. They're just...
Oh, we can't forget Lilith hatcheting Blue Death.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That whole scene about Publius and the Vox being treated as dogs.
And then...
oh my god, and then fed the... I did not need to remember that.
I had to remember it, so...
Blocked it out.
Yeah.
I blocked
Yeah,
it
if
out
I
as
have to
soon as I
remember it,
heard
so
it.
do you.
You're in it too. That's what commiseration is.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just horrific. And we learn that, like, you know, Mustang goes on about how Adrius never actually liked the Bone Riders. He knew that they were below him, but that's all he kind of had. So put up with him in comparison to now, like, they're running everything.
Lilith.
Like, they don't have the
Lilith is
holdback of Adrius. Yeah.
Lilith is raising him to like kind of worship the Bone Riders
Yes.
almost. And he's like, Mustang eventually tells him, like, Adrius hated them. And he's like, oh, like that makes me feel better. Like I felt like I wasn't supposed to, but I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Virginia picking apart that whole scene so quickly, recognizing like, oh, this is off, and you can see her just like her brain just immediately start going.
Yeah.
Think like, how can I peel this back? How can I get into it?
And that's what I
She's
really
thinking the whole
like,
time.
is that she knows her brother more than anybody. As much as Lilith thinks that she knows Adrius, like, she doesn't. And, like, there's so many different layers to this of why she can, Mustang can do it with the different puzzles and everything. But it's such a bizarre. So we didn't even comment. Like, okay, so we're talking about relationships over here. Let's talk Lilith and Adrius. We have to.
You had a problem with the brains?
Mustang says she doesn't have the ability to
No,
the
we're
knowledge
gonna
of
talk
psychology
about
to
it.
analyze that. I ain't touching that shit.
Like, so I always pictured in the first three of, like, the Voldemort and Bellatrix. Well, Bellatrix is just like, yes, master. And he's like, I don't give a fuck about you. But, like
you don't exist, basically.
Yeah. And then you get this, that, like, he at least knew that she would always worship him and could carry out these commands, to then take his DNA and, like, I don't even want to say mother him, but, like, use herself as an incubator.
Birth him. Yeah.
She's just a human incubator. I don't think she's a mother. She's a human incubator. Birth him and then still be weirdly, like, obsessed with him, as now he's still a 10-year-old and she's trying to make him into, like, the 20-year-old she remembers. Like, it's gross on so many levels, but it is interesting of, like, you discover of the things that she clearly left out. Like, she didn't tell you this, and that's the part that Mustang can poke pieces at. Of, like, if you actually knew the full information that real Adrius would have left, he would have told you all this stuff. So Lilith is BSing a lot of it.
Doctoring what you've been getting.
Yeah. So, interesting.
I really like Severo's reaction when he hears what's gone down with the with Lilith and the Abomination. It's just, proved her ultimate loyalty by growing me in her own room. Severo literally throws up.
And then calls out Mustang at one point of, like, how are you not sick yet?
Yeah. And he and Pebble and Clown are like, are we tripping out right now? Are we on drugs? We must be on drugs.
Yeah, did you give us acid again? You know I hate acid.
Yeah. So we have the three of them there. Talk just half a moment, because at what point in this, must be just before this, we know that the Howlers die.
Shortly after this.
Yeah.
Because
Min Min's gone.
Mm-hmm. That's right before, because that's where they find about.
Severo says, I'm going to kill you. Didn't get the pleasure last time, and it will be slow. The clone watches him without emotion. I told you the next threat would cost you. This is your fault. Gorgo, please bring in the wolf and the prisoners. And then they bring in the wolf full of the prisoners and fucking set the fire.
that is probably my nightmare, is like set on fire. Like,
Well, that's
Oh,
straight
yeah.
out of what, ancient Rome?
yeah.
The thing
Yep.
they actually did.
Yeah, literally that
Hmm.
was.
Yeah.
I just
then the
like that.
irony-
And we hear the screams. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that turn into a howl.
Yeah.
I like that Adrius plans to put Lilith inside it at some point.
Yeah, that's. I was just gonna say
Yes.
the irony and all that, and he's like, what later? He's like, "You hate her," and she's like, "Virginia." I was like, to the Abomination, "Do you hate her?" He's like, "One day soon, I will melt her inside it." He's referring to the Iron Wolf.
Which we
Yeah,
learn he
because
wanted
he
it to
doesn't
be a
understand
cow.
irony.
Uh huh.
He wanted it to be a cow, and she made it a wolf, we learn. But yeah. It's just. Our poor howlers. Yeah.
They said Min Min's in it, obviously, but do they ever? They don't
Yeah.
ever say exactly.
They don't
how
say
many
any
others.
other howlers.
But I don't know if we have that many
Um,
other names at this point. Because
Right.
we know Severo, Clown, and Pebble are not in it. Screwface is with
Phase.
Darrow.
Darrow.
Min Min is named. Like, most of them
Yeah,
are with
that's it.
Darrow that are named. And then our
Mhm.
three main are safe.
We probably have to look back to see when Mustang sends them to Earth. How many? I feel like they actually might call out how many they send to Earth.
Well, it's not even when they send to Earth. It's when we know that the scene where Severo drops from the ceiling and they're
was
relaying
in
messages
Iron
through
Gold, right?
Pebble. You said Morning Star.
I get-
Now you're saying Iron Gold.
Catching
That is
up,
this
catching
book.
up.
He says 25. It is 25
Yeah.
of the killers. Or like solar systems worth killers. So there's 25 howlers at that point. We don't know if they're all there, but we know that at least our three main, and then Min Min is the one named, is in the, yeah.
Yeah, and we have to believe some of them. At least some of them died in Earth because they're old Japan, or whatever. Because they said that went
Old Tokyo, yeah.
Mhm.
awry. Old
Yeah.
Tokyo.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely devastating. And then we don't know. Clown, Pebble, and Severo get taken off. We learn later where they are, but they're basically taken off to be held prisoner so that they're
Yeah.
not anywhere near Mustang. And
I really like Severo kind of like foot by foot making his way, being beaten down, trying to get to the Abomination.
yeah. I also like in this part you get that Lilith is the one that say they claim howlers never bow, but apparently they do. And like I just like that
Apparently
howlers never
do kneel.
Yeah, I like the idea that like it has gotten outside the howlers that their number one thing is do not bow, do not kneel. And it's gotten even back to the Bone Riders of like, I mean, and thrown in their face, but just that like legacy they have of the howlers do not bow, they do not kneel. Yeah.
Should we jump in to the Bone Riders?
Yeah, alright, so we got the howlers are dead. The Bone Riders are just freaking partying and being a mess. And Adrius is making mazes at dinner, which Mustang takes advantage of. And we learn, so he's making mazes on like one data pad and then sending out like battle strategy on the other.
On another, yeah.
Yeah. I'm super curious to see what these puzzles look like. Because, yeah, they're described as like polygonal.
Yeah.
Like she's adding polygons to these puzzles. Like, what does that look like?
Can't wait for the Red
I'm
Rising
imagining
puzzle book.
I'm imagining Tony Stark figuring out time travel.
Oh, just... Yeah,
Well, it's even going back to the Red Rising. I'll get this book. The puzzle that Darrow works on right before he's getting carved. There's like just puzzles throughout the whole series.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm waiting for the like Not Sudoku, but that style, but all Red Rising puzzles. Like, do your mazes, do your whatever, and they're all these. Though, we would need them to be 3D for all of these,
I would say
but.
these would be like 3D printer versions.
Yeah,
Writing
yeah, get the next Kickstarter on that one.
Yeah, Orange Armory, Jinx, you're up. Or not,
Not Jinx.
Jigsaw. Jigsaw.
Yeah, Jigsaw. Jinx is Mad Violet. Yeah.
Jinx is Matt Palette.
Yeah, get us some. I don't know. Not quite Rubik's cubes, but I'm thinking like those. In my head, I pictured it, but now you say it's like a polygon. I don't know, because in my head, I was thinking those like wooden ones that you get that like
Oh,
you have to
yeah.
put them together in the certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was picturing, but now not square, I guess.
I mean, could theoretically be the same sort
Yeah.
of thing, but
Yeah.
it's just like I can't even conceive like what their polygons are looking like.
Yeah. But we
Because
do
like
know that the ones they
it
did as
and
kids were on
Mustang even
paper.
yeah, those were
It keeps
mazes.
them all.
Yeah.
But like it even like Mustang even says like Lilith can't even tell that there's a puzzle there.
Yeah.
Doesn't he send one to her?
He sends it to
Right?
Lilith, and
Yeah,
then
he
Mustang
sends it to
takes it and
Lilith,
do
and
it.
then yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Mustang's the
And
one
that
who
pisses
like
her
pulls
off,
it
of
back.
course.
Yeah. But also like so that's where we start to see the cracks because Mustang's like, how does he not know that I'm going to defeat everyone? That when we were kids there was not a single one that I could not do. He should know my capacity. And the fact that when he was a kid he gets angry, he's like joyful that she can like
yeah,
solve them, and
Right.
he's like, and she's like, this is not the kid I knew growing up, and that's where the cracks start to lay, that
Yeah.
she can start picking at that of like, oh, all right, and then does the like, so where are my original ones, like, where are they? Yeah, she gets to,
Closet.
yeah, but yeah, it's a really
Well, there's also
interesting. I really enjoy the idea of nature versus nurture, and that's really what comes out here of Adrius raised by a different parent, what that then ends up producing rather than the original Adrius.
Well, they even call that out. That's what I was gonna say. Is they? She says something about Nero, and she's like, "You loved father as a father should be loved. It wasn't you, right? He didn't love you back.
Yeah.
That was the
yeah,
issue." Which is interesting too, because first it's Pandemonium '53. We open that up with a quote from Nero about, gosh, what was it? About like go the way of your mother. Self pity is a plebeian's luxury.
Yeah.
All that occurs is either unendurable or endurable. If it is endurable, endure it. If it is unendurable, follow your mother. Spoken only like Nero could.
I was gonna say, can you imagine that your like mother has just committed suicide and your dad's like, hey, either deal with it or join her. Like, but then Mustang is like, oh yeah, that's what I needed to hear at the time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um,
I think Mustang has like the emotional maturity enough to see it for what it is, where it's like it's transactional for her in the moment, but she's still like, "Here was a fucking twat." Then she's like, kind of going
yeah,
through it. Yeah,
yeah,
because that's like I think why even when picking apart Adrius or the Abomination and Lilith, she's like picking it apart, but also like calling this out. And she's like, "Man, imagine what could have been." I thought he was just a brother for a minute there, and that's
yeah,
to your point. Then how I recognized he isn't, because my brother would be pissed and smacking himself in the face right now.
yeah. Well, she talks about how she's always wanted her brother to react the way he was, right? Like, this
Mm-hmm.
is basically the brother she actually wanted as a child, but knows because of that it is not her real brother.
Right.
Yeah.
um, yeah. I says where'd it go? The difference between Nero raising Adrius and Lilith raising Adrius says, so there's the difference. This clone has been raised to believe he is a god. My brother was kicked and beaten and left on a rock to die more than once. One earned his victories, the other feels entitled to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
To throw this at you, and I've only been, this is in the last 30 seconds I thought of this. So Adrius is supposed to be 10 years old. So we at this point have Electra who's 9, Adrius who's 10, and Pax who's 11. So that very interesting, like Adrius and Pax, are they at the mental still same age? If, let's say, for whatever the hell reason, Adrius was raised by Mustang, would we be seeing Pax under that light? Or, like, what is that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think Pax and Adrius could go toe to toe with each other?
Well, I mean, Adrius straight up says, where is it? I did intend for Pax to be my passage so I could earn my scar, but Sephi interfered and Atlas insisted Lilith not pursue. So, yes, I think they absolutely could.
Yeah. Super.
Which says a little bit too, because
Pax would deconstruct him, but
right,
You think
because
Pax
even
would win?
Adrius was never a fighter.
yeah,
That was Adrius. Adrius' whole thing, right? He wasn't a fighter. That the raw brutality was Darrow. He was the head game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the scepter or the pen, and Darrow was the sword.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then we get our little private moment between Adrius and Virginia.
Yep.
And Adrius is petulant.
Yeah.
And
that's how she gets him.
And yeah, I love that, because it's like, that's not something that Virginia Au Augustus would do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like that's an Atalantia move right there.
Yeah.
She fucking gets him.
Yeah. Because in that moment, like, we know so much about Pax, that Pax would not at any moment just grab the flower, but instead would kind of look at it and go, what could this be? How are you holding it?
If
What is
anything,
this?
he would take it
Overanalyze.
gently.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Of like, well, you're holding it from there, so I will hold it from there. Right? Like, yeah, and instead we get the grab, which just poisons or whatever it does, and then she can start
from it.
She can start to make her getaway, even though her legs are paralyzed at that point.
Yeah, she manages to get a hold of the data pad, and she's scrambling to turn her legs back on.
Yeah. But while he's yelling, so Lilith comes in, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fully armored but her head. I did find it interesting that Mustang's full on, like, she's the most effective soldier I have ever seen. You really see that, like, in this scene, honestly. Her just taking, I feel like it's bad saying take her to task, but the hatchets, man. Just goes to town, I think on Mustang. With
Adrius is the one that says that she's the most effective soldier he's ever seen.
Okay.
Where.
Would be 57.
I think it's even 56.
Okay.
Because it says, like, the syndicate wasn't ready for her level of brutality.
Oh yeah, she's possibly one of the most effective. No one says it. It's her train of thought or whatever, right? No, somebody says it. Sorry. Clone says as the door closes. I'm a 476, but you're an ebook cover.
Yeah.
I'll fault you for it. Yeah. She did take control of the syndicate on her own, but the underworld wasn't prepared for her level of violence. Possibly one of the most effective soldiers I've ever seen. It's both of me talking, but she only goes in one direction at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she's just fucking throwing hatchet after hatchet, seemingly, at Virginia.
Yeah, like how many of
Gets her
these
in the-
fucking things does she have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which then, like, Virginia at least
She's got
finds,
the
I think,
dimension
one
of
in her back or something. She pulls it out of
Yep.
something to
Virginia's
throw it
got one
back.
lodged in her back. Yeah,
Throws
She
it
throws
back.
it.
because it clangs on the wall. Like
Yeah. But then she throws the flower in the only part, and Lilith hacks her nose off. Like, just
Yeah.
straight.
Not taking
yeah,
any
that's
chances.
fucking straight up Red Skull shit.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Can't wait to
where's-
see that one. Not just cartilage.
Oh, yeah, that's cartilage.
Yeah, like,
What's this part,
like
though?
the bone's like all the way back here.
Right. Yeah. Not nice,
Ah.
whatever it is. Then she,
Ah.
yeah.
Let's go back to the Voldemort thing I said earlier. Where she was Bellatrix.
Of Atalantia.
Vatalantia. Blah. But yeah, and then Mustang through the tube and down. And we get to know that finally Kavix, she does her own medical procedure thing called Kavix.
Yeah. Yeah, cuts her fucking fingers off.
Mhm.
Gives herself
I love the
stims.
Of course
And
Kavix
then-
is safe. He arranged
And
it.
then, of course, he's safe. He just gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
He doesn't die. He just gets
Just a
kidnapped. It's
damsel.
fine.
Yeah.
I cannot handle more than that. So, but then, and he makes the call that she says, "I will go back in for Severo," and he's like, "No, you're not." Like, no.
Well, I love that because she trusts him. She asks him to make the call. She's like, "You
Yeah.
tell me, like, analyze me," and he's like, she just puts her whole entire trust in him. And that's when she's like, "I'm not Mustang any longer. I am the Sovereign." Like, she recognizes how much is actually at stake if she were to try to go back in.
Yeah. And it is interesting that I wonder, depending on who it is, if she would try and override. But because it's Kavix and it is real dad.
Yeah.
It's the dad that stepped up
Real
after
true
you've
dad,
just
yeah.
gone through this emotional trauma of reliving your childhood. And
Mhm.
like, dad that stepped up is there being like, "No, honey, we're getting you home." Like,
Yeah.
no, hun.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so then...
She's not out of the woods yet.
She's not out of the woods yet, but she at least, gets back to the Reynard, the flagship.
She's first got to see Holiday.
Oh my
She
god,
takes-
I cried
yeah.
today. I cried today
Oh.
when it was Holiday that's there, that it's like Pegasus Legion comes in and the one goes
Yeah.
up and she acknowledges it's Holiday. I literally cried today at that because, like, I am so mad at the amount of people in the den who think that Holiday is the one who betrayed them. Like, it's the ongoing who sold them out with that they, in Back in Iron Gold, that they had talked to the Julia Bologna.
Bologna.
And all these people continue to think it's Holiday. And I was like, no! Time and time again, Holiday proves herself. And I, again, am pretty much reading this. It's almost like it's the first time. Like, I know the hit points. Like, I sit there going, I know Mustang's gonna get out, but I forget how. That's not true. I totally remembered that there was a slide thing. But I forgot it was Holiday is the one that, like, actually fully gets her. And I cried today over that I was like, yes, Holiday. Like, yes. I love them so much.
It's a good scene. Because I also,
Such a
too,
good
love that. She's Holiday is Grey Rock. Like, I have Grey Rock
Yeah.
here. I have possession of Golden Horse or something, Gold Horse.
Gold
Yeah.
Horse, which immediately I was like, that's a terrible alias, as if nobody
Yeah,
can
right?
figure out that
Oh, I wonder who
Mustang
that
is
could
Gold
be.
Horse.
The
Let's think
original
about
guys.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
wanted to know more because at the end they talk about how of course they weren't going to come in because we're in one of Adrius's craters from the nukes. And that ends up being a Vox Mobile Infantry Legion. So I'm like just curious of the I guess the schematics, right? The layout of all the escape tunnels and how that all pans out. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, because we know there was 4 tubes that would go into Black Cathedral, and she can seal them all off when she's in.
Mm-hmm.
And then certain ones can get her out, and she could have gone other ways to try and get Sabro and Clown and Pebble and yeah.
Well, who is can tell me to just read and stop being dumb. They say we've already sent 3 in, and there's 4 operatives still in. You don't learn about those 4 operatives who are still in.
I don't think so.
I
I think they're just nameless. We've tried
Named.
to get them
Gotcha.
out. Yeah. It's actually interesting today in the den, and this is so Merlot, you probably won't even know this. Well, you know that in the den, if you are a booster or a den donator, you get into Quicksilver's boardroom. And I will give a little bit of a taste that right now in the den we are planning. There's a design contest going on, and people can design what they think the den map would look like, as if the den was an actual place. And it was brought up in the Quicksilver's boardroom, which is, so you have to have clearance to get in, of what about all the secret channels, because there is a few of them, and we were kind of teasing out that us on Pegasus Legion obviously have our own channels so that we can plan and discuss. And someone brought up of like, because I was like, oh yeah, I see like the basement would be the secret places, and someone's like, or Black Cathedral. And at the time I did not get the reference, and it's like 4 hours later I was like, I understand Black Cathedral. Oh. Like, I think it was Salem was like, the basement, you mean Black Cathedral? And I was like, what? And then I was like, oh. So if you're watching this and you're one of the den designers, just remember there is some secret passageways that you can just leave without names, but there is quite a few hidden channels, either because you have to do certain things to get into them. There's Stabby Legion, I will allude to, that you have to do certain things to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yes, and Pegasus Legion have a few of our own that people just discovered that we do have a channel in Pegasus Legion. It's the only channel Pierce has access to in Pegasus Legion. In case he wanted to talk to us, he's never used it. I am the only one, that's the only time we've tried to message Pierce in the den, is be like, you have access to the bushes. It's literally called the bushes.
Yeah.
It's that. But yeah, it was just really funny that I was like, I don't understand this Black Cathedral reference. And then I got there today and I was like, oh, I understand the reference. And yes, that is where all the den hidden secret passages would be. No.
Absolutely.
Smart.
No. It's funny, people join the den and there's ones that are hidden but not, that anyone could access if they tried. And people all the time are like, you say there's secret passages, but like I can't find any. And I'm like, oh, then you're
Carter.
not looking. There is.
Yeah.
We've got some hidden things in there. Never mind the Rose Garden. Not so secret, but technically hidden.
Should be.
Should be. That'll be an offshoot. But yeah, so Black Cathedral. Anyway, we get her then escaping. Ends up back on the Reynard. And waking up with Deanna sleeping with Sophocles. It's not just Deanna, who we worried about. We didn't know where Deanna was. But
yeah,
I also wanted like throw with Sophocles, who is a 75 kilogram fox, and Deanna is
no,
like
75 pound.
Oh, it's 75 pounds. Oh, well, in that case, that's small. But Deanna is not, like, Reds are what, max 5 feet? And so she's just
like
got this giant
5'2", 5'3".
fox on her lap, just hanging
Tilts
out.
his head.
Tilts his head. He realizes she's awake first, and then jumps on the bed because of
Yeah.
shooting pains.
He's only taken a few hatchets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's got Sophocles, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just love that imagery that we get of Mama hanging out next to the bed. And she talks about how it's the relationship she wished she had with her mom. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
That was a sweet one. Virginia cries, Deanna cries, everybody's crying.
Yeah, and how, Deanna at this point is worried for both of her own sons. This is when we learn that Kieran is taken Arch-Governor of Mars.
I love that she calls him some idiot. They're like, who's in charge of Mars? And Deanna's just like, some idiot. You can see just like, hear the disdain in her voice. Just like, God, my boys won't stay out of trouble.
Yeah, can you just stay at home? Can you just, never mind,
Back
like,
to the mines, please. Like,
her granddaughter is hanging out with Darrow. Like,
yeah, freaking Rona. Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if Rona gets mentioned in this, of like, because they talk about, like, she's worried about her son and her other son and Severo and, like, names everybody. But, like, her granddaughter is in the thick of it. Like, poor Deanna's like, yeah. Deanna, she longs for the mines at this point. She was like, at least I fucking knew what the risks were. Like,
right? Nobody could go outside those mines. We were good.
Yeah. Maybe you wouldn't come home one day, but it would be one of you, the stupid hell diver. The rest of you probably coming home that day. Yeah, we get that very cute. Yeah.
Well, and I love too, and it kind of feels like this unspoken relationship between Virginia and Niobe and Chemex, where she's like, I want to mourn with them for Daxo, but I know now we can't now. I know now it's not the time. Yeah. So they immediately jump into like, hey, what's next? Leopolis has days left. Days. Like, what else can we do?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but we've sent a man.
Ah, yes. Who could it be?
Well, okay, so but before we get that, just the Daxo note of, I noticed in these chapters is the first time, like, Mustang calls out Daxo as her best friend. And I feel like we've, at this point, like, we knew they had a strong relationship, but we always just assumed it was her and Pax. But at this point, it's like, Daxo is the best friend. And you get that kind of sweet, still mourning, but yeah. But yeah, and then somebody's coming. We don't know who. We don't know who. But whoever told them about the rim, because we know she gets to learn that the rim is in alliance with the Corps, but somebody told them. And that's it. Oh, and she is worried that, we mentioned this, of nobody's gone for Severo, and they say, we've sent people. Like, there's nothing more we can do.
Well, and then she's also feeling, it's like Severo remorse and then also Darrow remorse on one side before that is mentioned, because she's like, Deanna, right? Remember, Deanna straight up leaves the room. She's like, I'm not going to sit here and give you permission to abandon my son.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they head for Mars.
Yeah, for Mars. All right.
And Darrow heads for Severo's room.
Yes.
An uplifting note to end it all.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I kind of really like this chapter. Is there any other Darrow in this section before we hit this? No, this is it. This is okay. Yep. So the last one is,
Severo's palace. You get Glarastes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Introing that.
And Glarastes.
He's such a.
Oh yeah, and like, can we kill what is he called? The Master Maker? And Thraxa really wants to kill him, and like, no. And even it's first Hernassus goes, no. And she's like, I didn't ask you. And Darrow's like, he's second in command. When I don't speak, he speaks. And she's like, but you're speaking.
But you're
and
not
he's
speaking.
Like, yeah. And he's like, no. Like, no, Thraxa. Like,
yeah.
So then
you guys talked about this on your last episode too. Like Thraxa, like where Daxo's such a politician And Kavax is just this like really loving father. You have Thraxa, who's just like she could be a million other things, but she's like, no, I just want to bust some heads. She's just hanging out there.
Yeah.
And she was. What's the story? She's ready to amputate. Severo gets trench foot on some mission they're on.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, you were ready to amputate his foot, and then he woke up.
Yeah.
Apparently, just while he's sleeping, she's just
She's just it's fine.
get rid of us.
I love Thraxa so much. I feel like I relate to her. She's like, well, she's not the youngest child, but she's the misunderstood of the bunch, which I just fucking love. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, because so we learned that they need sardines for something.
Yeah, he needs sardines on Tuesdays, otherwise he gets headaches.
Yeah, so then they're like, Darrow's like, we'll go into Severo's room, and everyone's like, what? And he's like, there's a reason he smells like fish. Like,
yeah.
Go into
Rona's face goes stark white when he says, she's like, no, absolutely not, I'm not doing that.
Fucking not.
Yeah, she's like, that's for somebody, and you just watch everybody clear the room, and like, no, it's that they can't look him in the eye, and he's like, fucking hell. And then it's like, all it says is that he tries to enter, then suddenly it's like, and now this person is picking, like...
Yeah. I'll get the bloody damn sardines. And then it's literally a smash cut.
Yeah.
Of like,
minutes later,
him
I'm
getting...
shrieking like a goat on the floor just inside Severo's room as a medicus pulls needles from my face, chest, and ass.
Love it.
My hands and
like
feet
Larry
turn
Severo's
purple and
voice.
start to swell uncontrollably.
Don't touch my
Don't
shit.
touch my shit. Don't touch my shit.
But that night, like, he gets to go in, and it's so good if you listen to the audiobook, because it's the sexy voice, and it, like, goes through, and you'll have to... Okay, Crescent, you've got it in front of you. Read in your best sexy voice what the, like, level 2 entrance...
Yeah. Badass class DNA detected. Profile match for Darrow of Lycos. Best friend. Also known as Reaper. Boss. Howler 1. Apex asshole. Brother. Mustang's bitch. Second class clearance granted. Welcome. I apologize for warning shots. Master has been notified of your skulking.
But then the best is
yeah.
at the very end it goes,
and
then it cuts to Severo's palace.
Yeah. It had... relax in the sauna, Apex asshole. It has no traps, but above all else, steal nothing and enjoy your stay in Severo's palace.
I also love that he only gets second class.
Yeah,
that's what he questions later. He's like,
second class. And then the fucking AI is like, yes, Master says you know why. Wow. Wow, he fucking reached out from across the solar system and fucking reprogrammed this shit.
Wow.
It's a proper use of AI.
Yeah.
I love it. But yeah, and then we get to see
it's very sentimental.
It's very sentimental as we get to go through and all his trophies. You learn some of the things of like why Sephi has Aja's razor is because they played a game basically over it. Like who could kill more. You get the Minotaur's razor is in there. Ragnar's razor's in there. Yeah. There's a whole bunch.
And I like the whole thing is set up too, where it's just saying this is to be here is a reminder of how we parted.
Yeah.
Very kind of bittersweet to him because he's like going back and like you're saying like with the Institute Sling Blade.
Yes.
Like he realizes the meaning behind the sling blade to Severo, where he just like overlooked it all these years, and it's like, oh wow, this blade gave Severo something to follow. I think it says like to follow until he found something else, which he now has, as we see here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because he plays with the sling blade a little bit, and he says it's heavier but smaller. He thought it like he always remembers it being bigger, but it's smaller. But
it is. Yeah, it's far heavier than my razor and far smaller than I remember.
Yeah. But yeah, and then the last thing we see is the wall of his family. And he's got the holocubes of his girls. And you just know that that's you know, Darrow reflects back of the two different dads that we've been seeing this whole time of, you know, Darrow tried to do what Fitchner did of, we'll separate the war god from the dad, rather than Severo knew it was better to combine them, and that's why in the end Severo knew he needed to go back to his girls. And like, I don't know, it's really interesting, I noticed in the den, of who sides with Darrow and who sides with Severo at this point. And I feel like all of Iron Gold and Dark Age, I have always sided with Severo, of him doing like the family thing, and you know, he didn't need to follow Darrow, but some people are very much of like, no, Darrow did the right thing. Like, it's very interesting in that the two sides that come through of how to be a dad. Dad while being a warlord.
I just want to point out that Virginia says that Darrow did the right thing.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, Virginia's on the side.
So interesting, because then also you see that Victra is pleading with Darrow to not let Severo go. So it's clearly the two couples are aligned perfectly.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, even when Virginia's doing her escape plan, right, with the Night Lilies, she says, it's moments like this I sympathize with Darrow. Like, she clearly gets it in his train of thought. And like Crescent said, she pretty much gave him the blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Retroactively, but still.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just super interesting of how that plays out. Yeah, so Severo's... Mm-hmm. Well, and it's hard, because at this point we don't know what Severo's end is, and so this chapter is super, I think, hits really hard of, you get to see what he thought was important in his life and in what order and what he's hoarded, and how I also think how safe he kept those things that not even Darrow could easily get in. Like, those are his prized possessions. It's not just to stay out of my place, it's a don't touch my shit. Like, yeah, super cute.
But yeah, that's it.
That's
the end of our chapters for this week.
Yeah. I am going to bring up, because we said it before we started recording, that there is somebody missing in these chapters. Ooh, is it Lysander? Crescent, super excited about this, but somebody here is a bit of a Lysander apologist, and so we're gonna need to dig into that a little bit. Can you please, Mr. Merlot, explain your
in 250 characters or less, because of our
characters
on our survey? Remember when we used to do surveys?
Yeah.
We haven't done the survey since
you had to
Golden
extend out the
Sun.
survey length.
We haven't done a survey since Golden Sun. Oh, God.
I miss those surveys.
The two we did?
They were clear.
Yeah.
It's because I stopped reading ahead. I didn't know what was happening, and I was creating the surveys. That's why the surveys disappeared, because I was like, I don't even know what relationships are in these books anymore. I don't remember. But yes, don't throw us to the side with the surveys. Tell us your stance on Lysander over here.
So, I'll be clear. I think Lysander, I can spoil a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
He's fucked up. Like, he's clearly going through some stuff. But I think because of, like, what I was sharing with you guys earlier, like, I have this kind of soft spot, perhaps, for, like, his upbringing, and I, like, recognize or empathize that 10, right? His grandmother, his sole provider, and clearly a just complete crazy person, right? Was massaging him to be what she wanted him to be. And perhaps what we've learned, like previously with the mind's eye, like maybe distorting memories or doing something, right? Where he's missing entire blips about his parents he doesn't even know.
Didn't know he could play piano.
Yeah, I empathize with that, where I'm like, okay, he had this really shitty upbringing. And then he gets pulled out of that, sent to Uncle Cassius to take care of in space for 10 years, who probably did the best he could, but that is nowhere near what a parent should. So the guy is just left out kind of in a lurch, if you will. try to figure out things for himself. So he's clearly, and this is the issue, this is where I'm like, toe the line. He's clearly at fault, right? He has to be accountable for his actions. I think because of his upbringing to this point, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. So he's influenced, right? He's influenced by Apple. We saw it in a friggin' split second in the Ladon, where he's like influenced, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm a changed man. So I think he sees all right these different things that he gets influenced by. That I think in the long run, it will be I'm curious to watch it. I have obviously some side bets in the den with Slink and I guess just Slink about what will happen to him. But I think he has perhaps a redemption arc somewhere in there. To what degree is another question. I don't think he's ever going to come full Cassius and Morningstar, right, where he comes around and he's like, yeah, you're right, let's get this. But I think maybe, perhaps, you guys have seen Lightbringer, so I'm just going to tune into your reactions to this. There's a...
Where's my popcorn?
Yeah. Perhaps in Lightbringer or Red God, right? There's something where, now we start to see... I'm going to go into spoiler territory here. We'll leave that. Now we'll start to see kind of where he falls as more experience. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Which is the lesser of two evils kind of thing.
All right.
Stone Facial's still at Crescent over there.
Yeah. My question, I was the one trying to lay down, and then everybody was like, I don't know, I had to put out so many, like, what about A, B, C, D, E, F, so that nobody could be like, well, that's clearly what's happening in Lightbringer. Because, like, what if there is a redemption art in Lightbringer, but then it's undone in Red God? Sure. Or it doesn't come, and then Pierce writes, like, 3 more books, and it shows up later, or is undone in those books. Like, what is the limit of this? Okay, so if this takes 16 books, you're gonna hold out until Pierce, like...
I mean, I hope Pierce doesn't do this to us.
I don't think he does. I genuinely think Pierce is trying to move on.
He wants to wrap this up, yeah.
Yes, so. But I am just the person trying to figure out what and what is your bet for? Is it just for the glory? Is it for money? What's the bet for?
I tried betting $5, a crisp $5 bill. That's what I said when I got turned down. So I'd have to recall, I think it was something to the effect of admitting the other person was right publicly in the den or something like that. Because Slink doesn't like to admit when she's wrong, and she thinks I'm that kind of person. Little does she know I'm very self-deprecatory, so...
All right. But at the moment, it'll be until the end of Red God, we will see what occurs. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
we'll see
you in a year and a half, or whenever that is, and we'll see what's
Christmas
happened.
2024.
Yeah, I'm really hoping we only have to wait a year for Red God, but...
Yes.
From the sounds of it, he's got, like, he seems to be writing it a lot now, and... Seeing how Lightbringer and Red God were supposed to be one book and then split into 2, I feel like this... But at the same time, I always say, and this is why I was fine waiting the 4 years before Dark Age and Lightbringer, I'd rather have a good book than a rushed book. So, hopefully it's only 100%. A year, but...
as
Pierce,
long as
if you need longer, you take longer. Yeah.
Yeah. As long as it takes, I'm here for it. I just hope it's not that long.
We shall see.
I feel like the only spoiler, it's not even a spoiler, I've heard Crescent say was, it is his new favorite book, being Lightbringer.
It's both.
And mine too.
If that's what comes out of it, then fan-frickin-tastic.
We've both been open about that, and I think it's just interesting that I like to point out that Crescent's favorite previous is Dark Age. My favorite previous is Golden Sun, which are, I feel like, though, now that I say it, the 2 probably darkest of all of them, but... We both like Lightbringer more, so it's
also both a little more
political.
Others. Both of those two, they have a lot more kind of going on.
But see, mine
I would agree.
Mine's for the action, but the politics is there. So
mine's also for the action. It's just
you like depressing action rather than
It's brutal.
Dark Age is my new favorite with this reread.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say that Lightbringer is probably the funniest of all the books. You get a lot more
Okay.
humor.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
22 days.
Yep. We're almost there, guys. We're almost
Well,
there.
we're at the end of the third, so it's only 21 days, really.
Yes. 3 full weeks.
Yeah.
Circle on my calendar.
I know. There was.
Made it this far.
Yep, we're almost there. And then we will see each other in Tulsa.
Yeah, we will.
Oh my God. I'm so excited.
It's going to be fun.
Yep.
It's going to be so good. Yep. Join. All right. Well, that's it for this week. So.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for
joining us.
listening. Thank you, Merlot, for joining us. It's been a pleasure as always.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it.
Join the den. Check out our Redbubble shop so you can get sweet merch. Merlot, you are wearing Slink's, one of her concert designs, right?
This is one of the Slink concert her designs. Fantastic.
So go check out. We will link hers below. And yeah, thank you everybody
And
for
join us
watching.
next week for chapters 59 through 74.
And we get Badger. Badger is with us next week. Badger did the opening of
yes.
Morning Star, so you know that means trauma.
Bring your security blanket.
Spoil just a little bit. We bring Badger on when it's trauma. Yeah. All right. See everyone next week.